Hello, everyone. So, this is Pushpil, host for this webinar. I would like to welcome you all for this complete non-tech webinar organized by Society of Manufacturing Engineers, TTU. So, this webinar aims to help students in figuring out different career paths. So, today we have an amazing line of speakers, each of whom will talk about their journeys, their life stories, their career stories, and answer your queries at the end of the Q&A session. So without much of an ado, I would like to call upon our very first speaker, who is Mr. Yugansh Chokra. For his introduction, I would only like to say that he is the founder and CEO of ShopNani, mentor of change for Atal Tinkering Lab, and is also the president of Entrepreneurship Cell of NSIT. So with this, I would like to welcome Mr. Yugansh for the session.
Can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if I'm audible or not? Someone from the organizers, please.
Yes, sir, you're
Yes, sir, you
audible.
are audible.
Amazing. So, hi guys. Thank you, Pushpal, for the lovely introduction. And I'm Yugansh, and I'm 21. I'm 20 right now. I'll be turning 21 in a few days. So these people asked me to share my journey. I started quite early, and I'll keep it very informal. And I guess all of us are students, right? जितने भी लोग देख रहे हैं, सब students ही हैं. So I started when I was in fifth, right? Most people don't start in fifth standard. So fifth में क्या हुआ था? I'll tell you my story. My sister, like I have two sisters, and the eldest one is she's 6 years older to me, right? And वहाँ पे like घर वाले when I was in second, तो घर में computer आया था because she was in eighth. Computer उनके लिए आया था, right? मेरी sister के लिए. But I started using it. Next year we got an internet connection at our home. So that machine, I still remember that exact moment. कंप्यूटर पे वॉलपेपर कौन कौन सा था फर्स्ट डे पे मेरे को ये भी याद है अच्छी तरह विप्रो का था सीआरटी मॉनिटर वाला but then we started using it. Next year we got an internet connection and I started using awkward was very popular back then. msn भी काफी चलता था. गूगल सर्चेस से ज्यादा msn पे सर्चेस करते थे उस टाइम पे लोग. But like for me being a kid at that time, I was not aware of like Google as a business or if there is any Silicon Valley US or anything. But for me it was just a website, and I had this very silly dream that I want to create my own website, yuganshchokra.com. And with this mandate I started learning how to create website. Then there are like many platforms like Wix, Webs, Weebly. So I started using these kind of platforms where you can make a website by a drag and drop, right? I was doing this in fifth, and at some point I realized that like there are few barriers and I need to do more. Then somehow I got engaged with coding and I started learning coding on my own. So I was able to build a static website by on a local host by my sixth standard, and then I started learning more and more. I mean, मेरा interest develop होने लगा था उस time coding में, and then I just kept learning. I did PHP, JS, and in ninth, I saw an advertisement that there is one competition called Microsoft Windows Development Program, and I applied for that. So we created an app, and it was a pan level competition. So I got through the competition. I worked with Microsoft, and the day I stepped out of Microsoft, I realized that I want to do something on my own. मुझे अपना कुछ करना है, एक business करना है. I had this idea. But at that time I was a kid, right? And I had zero clue about कि business क्या करना है, कैसे होता है, क्यों करना है, right? Like zero, totally zero clue. So as I was into coding, I created a service provider basically. Now people call it as an agency. So what I was doing is I was working as a freelancer and I'll give you services, but there was no customers. कोई था ही नहीं. So even on the website there were like 5 or 6 visits a day, and all of that are from my family members. Then after that like I got a call from someone through Facebook. He called me. He approached me for employment basically. He was offering me a job. So he said that he's looking for a developer, and my mom was in front of me. I was in 10th back then, एंड मम्मी वाज लाइक कि बेटा काम ये सब क्या कर रहा है, ये सब करने की जरूरत नहीं है। एंड मेरे को भी लगा, बट दैट पर्सन द वन हु कॉल्ड मी, उनको नहीं पता था कि आई एम अ स्टूडेंट, आई एम इन माय 10th स्टैंडर्ड। सो वी टॉक्ड एंड दैट पर्सन बिकेम अ फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन एंड ही गाइडेड मी अ लॉट। उन्होंने मेरे को काफी कुछ सिखाया। देन आई एंटर्ड इनटू ब्लॉगिंग। ऐसे धीरे 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 आई स्टार्ट 3 businesses, माय फर्स्ट 3 businesses failed and at the time of JE, so I'm in my final year right now, so I'm from a 2016-20 batch, ठीक है। सो उस टाइम पे व्हेन आई वाज इन माय 12th, जब जेई का टाइम होता है, थोड़ा बहुत आप पढ़ रहे होते हो सब लोग, इवन आई वाज प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर एडवांस। सो उस टाइम पे I started ShopNani again. Like I had basic idea about like how do you go about business plans, what should be my revenue model and all these things, the market approach, थोड़ा बहुत idea था। and but at that time I had zero clue about the product, मेरे को पता ही नहीं था क्या बनाना है कैसे बनाना है। so but I started learning more and more about AI। so we started ShopNani in 2016। ShopNani is an AI-based price comparison engine and a technology media company. Right now, we are based out of Chicago. We got in Chicago in 2018, and after that, after ShopNani, I started INPO non-profit organization, Startpod. We closed it due to some team issues and financial issues. We tied up with Oyo Rooms, Tap Chief, and some other companies. उसके बाद I in 2018 I started another company in China. It's into agriculture. We were doing business in US, but due to some legal restrictions, we had to close our operations. Right now, I'm working in agriculture in India. So this is pretty much all about my journey. मैंने कहाँ से शुरू करा, कैसे करा, but I still think like I'm not sure what I'll be doing in the next 10 years, what I'll be doing when I'll turn 30. So at this age, I'm just exploring. I have the liberty, I have the time, I have zero liabilities. मेरे को किसी को जाके कुछ बोलना नहीं है. Even my parents, they are very supportive. Like I haven't like there are a lot of people sitting for the campus placement, right? So NSIT camp में एक भी company में नहीं बैठा अभी तक. So overall, like this age when you are 20, 21, you have the time, right? There are a lot of people, especially college students, say they don't have time, but trust me guys, you have a lot of time. Just right, like when you go to bed tonight, just realize what are you doing throughout your day from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. जब भी तुम सोते हो, जब भी जागते हो, वो अपना देख लो। but just realize on your own, just introspect कि तुम लोग करते क्या हो, and like then only you will realize कि how you can save your time, right? And the if I talk about time management, so the time management is a big misconception in my opinion, and I guess it's more about energy management, because like I live in Rohini, very close to DTO, sector 16 अगर तुम लोगों को पता होगा, I live very close to this place. So I travel to Dwarka NSIT. So first year में तो यार I guess ये pink line भी नहीं थी. So I had to take this yellow line from sector 18 metro, then राजीव चौक से द्वारका, right? तो ऑलमोस्ट मेरे को आराम से 1.5 घंटे लग जाते थे, आने जाना इज इक्वल टू 3 घंटा, राइट? इवन इफ आई एम बैक टू होम बाय 6 or 7 p.m., I don't have energy to work. I don't have energy to explore something, right? I just kept lying on my bed. I just waste time, and by 11 or 12, I just go to bed. This was kind of my schedule. But right now, like I'm using a car for the transportation, and it saves a lot of energy. But not just transport. So when you go to canteen, college canteen, let's say if you have a break of 2 hours, ठीक है, 2 घंटे का break है आपका, what most of us do is we talk about GOT, friends, money heist. Like we just waste our energy, right? So and even if you're not working in that time period, you can just save your energy, right? So that you can come back home and or in a hostel room and then you can start working. So मैं टॉपिक से थोड़ा साइड हो गया, टॉकिंग अबाउट माय जर्नी टाइम मैनेजमेंट. सो my journey is pretty much all about it. Meanwhile, I worked with a lot of startup, a lot of companies, include like I have been associated with Dell, Tinder, Godrej, United Nations, Government of India. So the like and I mentored a lot of startups globally, and I traveled to so 10 countries so far, all on scholarships or funds. So yes, just I'm just still exploring कि क्या है दुनिया में क्या नहीं है. I'm just still figuring out कि मेरे को करना क्या है. So I'm not sure if I'll be doing the same thing in the next 10 years or not. And yes, that is pretty much all about how I started, what I'm doing right now. So I'm open to questions now. How are you going to take questions?
Hi, Yugansh. Thank you so much for telling your journey. So we have a couple of questions. So the question that we have is, according to you, what is the uh, better way of starting a new venture? Start as a side hustle, or if successful, make it a full long thing, or just give it everything from day one. So like, do you want to have it as a side hustle, or just give it your best from the day one?
Acha, Vikhayat, are you from the organizing team?
Yes, sir.
So may I know the what kind of audience do we have? Like, are all of them students?
So most of them are students.
Okay, so I'll tell you for both. If you are a student and you want to start, right? So there is one video I did, and in a year you have 52 weeks, right? And engineering is basically 4 years, right? So in 4 years you will be having more than 200 weeks, right? So imagine if you are giving, let's say, 7 hours a week, ठीक है, 7 घंटे आप एक हफ्ते में अपने स्टार्टअप पे काम कर रहे हो, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. Just imagine the potential, the learnings, the experience you'll be having in the next 4 years, right? So your aim when you are building a company, I mean, you don't need to drop out of college. There are a lot of people who say I am dropping out of college, but imagine, like, there are a lot of, like, I don't need to say this, but you already know, you that people say Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of, but he dropped out of Harvard, right? So, and there is someone who's dropping out of tier three college in some like tier three city, right? So there is a difference, right? If you're getting into college like DTU, NSIT, IIT, so at least you had that sort of the competitive nature, right? So I was talking to one of the VC, and there is one thing, like, why angel investors are putting money on this, the IITians, right? So यार वहां पे एक चीज बहुत बढ़िया आई थी निकल के, कि when you are in 12th, when you are 11th, you have zero things to do. You have to just study. Most of us 11वीं 12वीं में बच्चे क्या करते हैं यार, पढ़ते हैं ना, राइट? हम सबको यही करना था. वी ऑल वर टारगेटिंग आईआईटीज. सब लोग जेई के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे थे. बट एट दैट टाइम हाउ डिटरमाइंड यू आर towards your goal defines, like, this thing is going to decide whether you are going into an IIT or not, right? I'm not saying but that all IITians are great, all students from top colleges are great, but this is something which shows how determined you are towards your goal. So if you are in college, just start it out. Okay, you have a lot of time, trust me. You have when you are just scrolling through your Facebook feed, through your LinkedIn feed, turn your phone down, and then you can start working when you're playing PUBG. And even if you're working, so, like, you can start it a side hustle, right? Because if you're a middle class family, if you're coming from a middle class family and dropping out of college, or like leaving your job, is kind of a big risk you are taking. So I'll suggest go for the calculated risk, and you can start it as a side hustle. And if you see growth, then you can take more people on board. So far, even I are, मैंने 4 साल पुरानी कंपनी है शॉपनानी, एंड that's not the only thing I'm working on. So I think this is not something which is impossible कि आप साथ में नहीं कर सकते. You can do it साथ में, and you just need to manage time. You need to set your priorities right, and when you will just start, you will eventually start learning more about it. And there's one more thing. Most people keep procrastinating, so just start. You need to just focus on two words: just start. Because the day you will start, just imagine a book. अगर आप book पढ़ना start करते हो, right? So you don't turn the book down by just reading one word, right? अगर आपने एक word पढ़ा, वो पूरा sentence खत्म कर लेता है. And when you start with a sentence, you end up reading the full page or a few chapters, right? So just start, and you will start analyzing, you will start introspecting yourself. खुद ही time निकल के आने लगेगा. And if, like, even if you won't be able to build a company, even if you don't end up like being like building a successful company, you will end up being a, like, very 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 much better employee, right, for a company. So let's say, even if at ShopNani I have someone who's a fresher who's really good at some stuff. Let's say if I'm talking about growth hacking, किसी ने growth hacking पहले try करा है, if there is someone who's already doing a lot on Facebook, right? So Facebook, LinkedIn, जितने भी social medias हैं, so I'll prefer that particular person for the company, and not someone who's written like a Microsoft Excel skill on his CV, right? So just start it as a side hustle. Agar you see some potential in it, then you can go ahead, you can devote more time, right? So just start it, I mean.
Thank you so much, sir. So one more question. What are the biggest mistakes made by startup entrepreneurs?
Mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistake. Okay. So the first thing is the getting into the wrong hands. So there are a lot of like gurus and there are a lot of mentors, right? So hota kya hai na, these it's kind of a business for all these self-proclaimed gurus and mentors, and this is kind of a business which can ruin your business. So I have seen people like, so if I see a business, right? If I see anyone who's starting up, probably I won't reach out to them to tell them that hey, I can help you, because this is not my main business. And if some startup reaches out to me that I'm looking for some help, I'll probably help them, right? But I won't ask for any equity or something. But there are a lot of people those who will come to you and say that hey, we can help you, and most of these people don't have any business. So I think entrepreneurship is something like where I mean, you can't learn it through some books or lessons. It is similar to sports, right? Like you can't learn how to play cricket by reading more about cricket, right? You can only learn how to play cricket by going into the field or ground, right? So it is similar with the entrepreneurship. These people have never tried entrepreneurship or starting up a venture by their own, and now they are being gurus or mentors, and they are helping someone else in their business by getting equities or some sort of fees, right? And even if you are like looking for a mentor, so the genuine mentor won't take any money for the first 3 4 meetings for sure, right? And the second mistake I'll say is uh, the startup, especially student entrepreneurs, we run for investors. So we have this perception that if company is closing seed or series A funding, we think that this company is a successful company. But trust me, there are a lot of companies raised $1 billion, but they are not actually doing when it comes to the real market. They are more like cash burning companies. So don't run for investors, run for customers. And if you are doing fairly well, investors will come to you. I don't think like majority of the business, in my opinion, don't require a lot of money, and the amount of capital they require can be like initially they can be done by the founders or the core team. And there are various ways of raising money. So don't just blindly run for the investors. Focus on your product, focus on the customers, get customers first, investors khud aa jayenge. And the third mistake, this is for the college students. So we see entrepreneurship as a glamorous thing to do. We see this tag of CEO or founder, co-founder as a very glamorous thing, but trust me, it's not. There are people don't talk about the dark side of being an entrepreneur. I have been in a situation where my friends call me, "Hey, Yugansh, let's go out. हम cafe जा रहे हैं," right? But I just say I'm busy, but I'm not busy. I'm just staring at my screen. I'm doing nothing. I'm just staring at my screen because I'm worried about my business, right? So, and there have been situations where everyone, like I mentioned, in the canteen they are talking about GOT. ये वो मैंने नहीं देखा यार GOT. But at that time I'm just on the another table and I'm working. I'm just taking a few calls. So you will have to make sacrifices, and before getting into startups or before like taking any sort of risk, make sure you are very clear with it that you really want to do it. Because because the problem I have seen with student entrepreneurs, like especially in colleges like NSIT and DTU, क्या होता है ना, लोग स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं, दे विल स्टार्ट एंड बाय एंड ऑफ द सेमेस्टर व्हेन दे विल हैव सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स, जब उनको पता चलेगा कि यार सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स आ गए, नाउ आई हैव टू स्कोर 8 GPA, उस टाइम पे वो छोड़ देते हैं एंड दे नेवर कंटिन्यू दिस थिंग. सो दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच आई डोंट लाइक पर्सनली.
All right, sir. Sir, we have one question from the attendees. Is a company called a startup only when the idea is unique, or it can be an older idea with a little bit tweaks?
See, I mean, this is a very subjective, and this answer could be very subjective. So I remember there was one person who was talking, like it's back in 2016, I guess 2016, right? So उस time पे there was one person who was talking to me and he said I want to build a social networking website. मैंने कहा क्यों social networking? There's already Facebook, right? He said फेसबुक में उस टाइम पे कोई फीचर नहीं था जो अभी है, इट वाज रिलेटेड टू सम लोकल लैंग्वेजेस. सो उसने कहा वी विल ऐड दिस फीचर, राइट? सो इमेजिन अ फेसबुक इज अ रियली बिग कंपनी, राइट? 2 billion monthly active users, and then there is you are trying to start a company same company, just with a small tweak that you will add some sort of like local language feature, right? So let's say you do it, you work on the product for 6 months, and तुमने product बना दिया, now your website is live. But what is the credibility of your website, right? Facebook is something which works on the word of mouth promotion. So I remember how I started using Facebook by looking at my sister, and how she started using Facebook by looking at her friends, right? And I think this is the same scenario with all of us, right? हम सब ने फेसबुक या कोई और सोशल नेटवर्किंग ऐसे ही स्टार्ट करा था, किसी को देख के, किसी से सुन के, राइट? या फिर किसी को फोमो हिट हुआ होगा कि यार इंस्टाग्राम पे नहीं है, फियर ऑफ मिसिंग आउट, राइट? So, and let's say there is a company, like if I give you example of Uber and Ola. So Uber was started in 2009, Ola was started in 2010, right? एक साल का difference था, 8 या 9 में start हुआ था. So उस time पे Uber was not a global company. Uber was only in the US, and Ola started in India, right? So in India, people were not aware of Uber, right? So this is why this is one of the biggest reason why Ola is one of the like biggest cab aggregator in India. But after that, if you see, there are a lot of cab aggregator apps or companies, but they are not doing really good as compared to the Ola and Uber. And so there can be competitive advantage when it comes to the market. It highly depends on the product, and it highly depends on what market you are serving. So still there are a lot of companies in India. I won't name any, but there are a lot of companies in India which you can directly go and copy in countries like Africa, or some like tier three countries, I'll say. I'll tell you a story. So e-commerce, but like building a e-commerce is not a big deal now, right? But let's say if you build a e-commerce, what is the chances that people are going to leave Amazon and they're going to come to your website to buy stuff, right? But this thing happened 4 years back when one of my senior, I'll say senior, when one of my senior, he went to Sri Lanka. E-commerce was not very popular back then. He started his company as a e-commerce. तब तक इंडिया में फ्लिपकार्ट था, Amazon था, सब कुछ था. श्रीलंका में नहीं था. He started his e-commerce company in Sri Lanka. He worked on this for 2 years in Sri Lanka, and he sold his company for 7 million. So it depends on the market, depends on the product यार, काफी subjective है.
So one last question. Apart from technical expertise as an engineer, what extra knowledge do you have as an entrepreneur to make things work? And how did you learn these things?
यार, like are you talking about skills?
Yes, sir.
See, my major is instrumentation and control engineering, IC, and I have like absolutely like zero knowledge about IC. I'm not very much interested, or I'm not into core engineering. So I won't say myself proudly as an engineer, but when it comes to learning skills, so yeah, skills, I think there is one saying, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So invention can be in terms of anything. So I started learning graphics when there was one guy, he was working with us and he left the team, and there was no designer available. So I started learning designing, how to do designs. I'm still not very good at graphics, but I can do the minimal part of the graphics. I can use a few tools, दो चार tools. मेरे को Photoshop use करना नहीं आता, but using 3-4 tools मैं अपना जुगाड़ करके काम कर लेता हूँ. When it comes to video editing, again, I don't have a full-fledged video team. So अगर मेरे को वीडियो करनी है, I know the basics. मेरे को प्रीमियर प्रो या फिर कोई और सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं आता, but I know a few third party softwares. उनसे मेरा काम हो जाता है. So but when it comes to the core skills like management, so most of my time goes into management, team management basically. So when this things comes the core skills, so उस time पे I'll say these type of soft skills come with the experience and even the hard skills. So if I talk about hard skills, let's say if you're learning coding या फिर आप programming कर रहे हो, मतलब like most of the engineering do, especially in Delhi, they go to coding blocks, coding ninjas, right? These type of institutions, you know. But I have a different perspective, because when you're going to such institutes, like with all due respect, if you're going to such institute, you are actually trying to practice the spoon feeding thing. And they're like 90% of students don't continue coding after completing their courses. They just have the certificate and they mention it on their CV. but the real things come when you are going home and practicing it again and again. अगर Node.js का आपने कोर्स करा, so Node.js जिस पॉइंट पे खत्म हो उसके आगे आपको जाके खुद से कंटिन्यू करना होता है. That is the real thing, right? So I think skills comes with the experience and exposure, and when you see someone else doing it. So recently, like today, a few hours back, I posted on LinkedIn about like I got 1.1 million views in January. So there are a lot of people asking me which tool you were using to track all these stats, right? And I saw this tool, just a screenshot. There was not even the name mentioned on that tool. So I started looking for these tool. मैंने काफी search करा. LinkedIn tools are only available for pages, not for profiles. Then what I did is I started contacting the support system of these व्हाट डू यू से दीज टूल्स. मैंने उनसे पूछा कि यार ये स्क्रीनशॉट है, क्योंकि मेरे पास वो एक स्क्रीनशॉट ही था उस टाइम पे उस टूल का, उसमें नाम भी मेंशन नहीं था. देन स्टार्ट, किसी ने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करा. देन कहीं ना कहीं से आई डिस्कवर्ड कि क्या कर रहे हैं लोग, कहाँ से. सो व्हेन यू रियली वांट समथिंग, आपको कुछ करना होता है, आप सीख लेते हो यार. लेट्स इमेजिन क्वारंटाइन, अगर क्वारंटाइन में कोई बंदा लेट्स से पीजी में फंसा हुआ है, क्योंकि देयर इज वन गाय आई नो जो भी साकेत में पीजी में फंसा हुआ है, राइट? ही इज नॉट फ्रॉम दिल्ली. Like for the last 3 years, he never cooked in his life. रोज स्विगी, सुबह शाम दोपहर, 3 टाइम स्विगी जोमेटो उबर ईट्स, राइट? बट दिस इज द टाइम ही इज कुकिंग हिज ओन मील. वो रोटी भी बना रहा है, वो सब्जी भी बना रहा है, ही इज लिविंग ऑन हिज ओन, राइट? सो जब आपको जरूरत होती है आप सीख लेते हो. डजेंट मैटर व्हाट इज द स्किल यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, बट जो भी आपको चाहिए, अगर आपको जरूरत है आप सीख लोगे. Even just I'll give you another example, quick example. थर्ड ईयर फोर्थ ईयर में जब इंटर्नशिप प्लेसमेंट्स होती हैं, काफी लोगों को कोडिंग नहीं आती, एंड यू रियलाइज कि यार अब तो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ टेक कंपनीज कमिंग टू इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस, तो हम भी सीख लेते हैं. उस टाइम पे आप डीएसएल को जल्दी जल्दी करने लग जाते हो, राइट? तो जब आपको जरूरत होती है आप स्किल सीख लेते हो. तो मैंने यार ऐसे स्किल सीखे, धीरे धीरे कुछ कुछ सीख लिया, कुछ कुछ कर लिया, मतलब.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for telling your journey and answering all the questions. We have a lot of questions, but we don't have time. So, what we'll do, we'll answer these questions through email. So, I'll send you these questions and you can answer, and then we can forward it to the attendees. All right,
Sure.
sir. So, that was all. And thank you so much for being here and uh, telling everything that you could. And thank you so much, sir.